Hello everyone, my name is the Hurricane Geek. Today we're going to be talking mostly about Invest 97L, which I do think will become soon to be Elsa. Invest 95L, I do not expect development with this system, 20%, but I do expect it to bring rain to the Leeward Islands and then parts of the Greater Antilles going forward. But again, I don't expect much from this, and I'm not really going to be talking about this system on this video because I just don't think much is going to happen with this system. Again, it's not part of that cycling weather pattern Invest 97L is, and that's why I was able to predict this 5 days ago on my last video. So again, Invest 97L is right here. I expect nearly 100% chance now of development. I'm very confident that this will form. Now, it could form anywhere in this area really, and this is the general track it will take, but I do expect formation to occur before the Leeward and Windward Islands. So I do expect tropical storm conditions there, potentially hurricane, if it gets itself together pretty quickly, but I don't think it will be a hurricane approaching the islands. I think that will be more likely near the Greater Antilles, Jamaica, the Caymans, Cuba, that area, because of the warm ocean heat content that we have here. It's very warm here, but this is the general area that I expect it to head. And again, I was able to predict this 5 days ago because of the 1120 part of the pattern. So if you don't know what this is, basically the LRC is a recurring pattern. They were established last year in the fall of 2020, and they continued to cycle throughout the winter and summer months. So now we're in the summertime and they are continuing to cycle. So the main strong LRC indicators that I look at are 5. There's 5 of them, 3 for Louisiana and 2 for Florida. So Delta, Zeta, and the 1120 were for Louisiana. Right now we're watching the 1120 cycle, which I do expect to develop and make landfall around July 7th to the 8th. Eta and the 1019 part of the pattern will favor Florida, and I do expect the Eta part of the pattern to come up as well early August. So early to mid-August, we have to watch Eta. That one could bring hurricane conditions to the west coast of Florida, so we really have to watch that closely. But right now, I'm going to pay attention to the 1120 cycle because that is coming up. And this cycle, again, is going to favor, if you did not know this, is going to favor the central Gulf, northern Gulf Coast area. So southeastern Louisiana, parts of Mississippi, and then going into Alabama. Early July, so the 4th to the 8th is when this was predicted. This was a forecast made in April, and you could see those future dates are very concerning because anytime you see an earlier cycle repeat or an earlier cycle form a tropical system, then the next cycles or the next dates have a much better chance of producing something stronger. So say we see a hurricane landfall with this, well then that tells me that late August and early October, potentially during those dates, we could see a major hurricane make landfall in this area. So again, this has been cycling over the winter and summer months, like I said. So November 20th is when it was first established. There's really 2 areas that I'm watching. The subtropics, obviously this wouldn't affect anyone, so I'm not really too concerned about that, but there's that low right near Louisiana, southeastern Louisiana, and you can see how it's been cycling every single time, and you can see the time periods are relatively the same. So you have 45 to around 47 days is usually how it's been cycling. And cycle 6, the 6C GFS run that I picked out, I didn't pick this out because it showed a hurricane, but I picked it out because it was the best track I could find, right? But the intensity here, I think it's a little overdone, but overall, that's definitely possible. So this is repeating throughout all these months. You could see May 23rd is actually when we had Ana. So Ana was out there in the subtropics, and you could see November 20th when this first established. See that low out in the subtropics? That is what cycled Ana later on. It's possible we could see a subtropical system try to form when this thing is making landfall. I don't think that's likely. The models aren't showing anything, but that would just be another named storm, and it wouldn't bring impacts to anyone. This is what the area looks like right now. It's over 28 degrees Celsius water at the moment, and if you notice, the clouds really aren't getting sheared on the top. So you can see clouds are kind of just relaxing at the moment. They're firing up convection, and that tells me that it's very moist around this system. Compared to Invest 95L, we have a lot of dry air. It's a little tiny system that's moving very quick because there's shear coming from the west. This system is relatively in low shear because you don't see shear shearing the tops of the clouds. You don't see that. You see convection firing up. You see a moist atmosphere, and it's over those warm temperatures. So development of this system, I think, is likely in the next 1 to 2 days, and you can already kind of see that broad rotation with this system. So again, it's already kind of giving me that look that something's going to be forming within the next 1 to 2 days. First in line for this system would be the Leeward and Windward Islands. Tropical storm conditions is what I would expect around 4 days from now. Going forward then, we have to look out for Jamaica, Caymans, and then Cuba, and eventually the northern Gulf. So this is the area right now. We have Invest 95L. Again, this is going to head west as well, and it's not going going to do much. Could bring some rain to the islands and then maybe the greater Antilles going forward. Invest 97 is already looking better than Invest 95L, has stronger vorticity spin on the 850 millibar, but I have to say Invest 95 did get a little bit more organized today, so we'll have to wait and see if that one tries to briefly develop. But Invest 97L I do expect to develop again within the next 1 to 2 days, and it's going to take the same trajectory really as Invest 95L for the most part. Again, these are our two waves. The main reason why Invest 95L is not going to be forming, I do believe, is because of this dry air mass that I predicted 5 days ago. All this dry air is going to be really just inhibiting that convection, and again, there's a shear up in this area, moving the system along very quickly. It's possible it could try to briefly develop in this area, but it seems unlikely. This system though has a much better environment, low shear, moist environment, away from that dry air, and it's in warmer temperatures. This is in marginal temperatures, this is in warmer temperatures. Overall is in a better environment, and I do expect development within the next 1 to 2 days. The future environment ahead of this system, so looking a little bit further out, again, we're going to have a moist air setup. There's going to be very moist in the Caribbean. The shear is also going to be very low, where I expect that intensifications occurring in this area. Again, anticyclonic flow is going to be dominant in the Caribbean, mainly the whole Caribbean. Again, I'm not thinking that dry air will be much of a problem. Temperatures will obviously be favorable, and again, that favored MJO is going to be favorable as well. We're going to have that favored MJO over the western part of the basin, generally suppressed over Africa, and that will continue to stay that way. And after early July, I do expect activity to calm. So mid-July and then into late July, I do expect activity to calm. So here's the ocean heat content, and this is why I'm very concerned for rapid intensification. So the black line that you see there is generally my forecast cone or track that I'm expecting, and future track brings it right over that warm ocean heat content that's basically off the charts. So that's why I'm very concerned. And again, I am expecting a little bit more slower motion in the central Caribbean. It's going to go a little bit more slowly in this area. That red circle that you see there, that's where we could have that rapid intensification. And going further, in the Gulf of Mexico, we have that loop current, and the loop current is notorious for intensifying systems. You know, maybe not this early in the season. This is quite abnormal to see a long track system in the Caribbean like this, because typically the Caribbean is a graveyard, but that's not going to be the case this year because of the convectively coupled Kelvin wave moving through right at the time when we have this wave down there. So this is fitting in right with the pattern of the LRC, the 1120 pattern. And again, this warm ocean heat content here you see here, the track is literally going to be heading right up that loop current. That loop current could intensify the system very quickly, and again, right up to the coastline, this thing could be intensifying. Keep up with the updates. I am going to continue to update this. The intensity is hard to forecast at the moment because the models are everywhere, but the track overall is going to be correct. It's going to make landfall along the northern Gulf, and I know this because it's been cycling in that area ever since the fall of 2020, basically. So again, the rapid intensification I think will be possible in this area. It's a pretty large area, but anywhere in this area I think is where we could see some rapid intensification with the system. Again, tropical storm over here, and then after that, potentially something trying to rapidly intensify, which is, I guess, something we're used to now given 2020, right? So again, this was my forecast for the rapid intensification of hurricane force winds, and you could see overall I did pretty well. It looks like it's a little bit too far to the north, but either way, that track there is a good analysis of the 1120 part of the pattern. And then later on here, you could see that there's a lot of red here indicating that there's definitely going to be hurricane force winds up here, and I'm accurate on that too. This is where I do expect that landfall. So again, this was also issued on my 2021 hurricane forecast. This was the storm surge, and the storm surge generally is, verifying. We have our hotspot in this area. This is where our hotspot is, and again, the storm surge is highest in this area. I do think given the track coming in like this, the storm surge is going to be high up in this bay area. And again, this area is very storm surge prone, and then if this track comes in like I'm expecting, we could have pretty bad storm surge for early July. Quite high numbers, maybe 4 to 7 feet with this system because of that push into the bay here. This is not a good area to be having a storm tracking right in this area, and then all the storm surge building up from the onshore flow. So storm surge could be a big problem with this system, and it's just early July, so that's concerning. And then again, this was predicted 5 days ago. This was my landfall hotspot. You see those 2 red areas I'm expecting most of our landfalls to occur in. July 4th to the 8th is when I was expecting that. This was predicted 5 days ago on my last video. This was too. I'm kind of showing you that general path of it. So the overall cone forecast was verifying a little bit further to the north, but again, July 7th is when I expected that landfall, and that's exactly what I'm expecting with my new forecast. And again, to watch for impacts, this was also accurate. This is where we're going to see that landfall somewhere in the southeastern part of Louisiana. I'm expecting development now. When you see this red here, that means we're on red alert. Basically, I do expect it. And again, this is my new forecast cone. So looking at this, when you see 55 here, I'm expecting tropical storm earlier than this, so I couldn't really make the cone that large, but you get the idea. A tropical storm will likely be developing before this time period, and it will likely be entering the Eastern Caribbean as a tropical storm. Again, the models have been showing weakening, generally speaking, in this area. I think there's going to be some weakening in this area, mainly because, again, climatology just doesn't favor this area because it's July, but it's possible, again, we could have that rapid intensification after that, so with that warm ocean heat content. So again, I'm going to be watching this because it could be getting strong as it enters this area, and then again continuing into the Gulf of Mexico, it could just continue to rapidly intensify. So this could be stronger than 70 miles per hour, and I think it will be. Expect a hurricane at this point around July 6th to 8th, but I'm really thinking Wednesday night, early Thursday morning is when we could see that landfall. This is my landfall areas where I expect the most likely landfall in around the New Orleans area. Mobile is in an orange risk, so they could also see a landfall up here. It's possible the landfall could extend anywhere really in this orange risk. I don't think the landfall is going to occur in the yellow risk, but from the orange and red, I think that's where we could see that landfall. And again, this was predicted 5 days ago and kept it the same really. Nothing has changed in terms of that. This is where I expect it to make landfall. In this red area, just be on alert if you're in this red area, but the landfall area I think is going to be in southeastern Louisiana. So if we look at the GFS model, this was the latest run. It wants to bring it more to the north of my forecast cone. I don't think this is going to happen. You know, it weakens it over the islands and then it brings it into the panhandle of Florida. That's not going to happen. We know that because of the LRC. It's been cycling over southeastern Louisiana, and again, I don't think it's going to want to go this far to the north, just because if it goes this far to the north, then again, that wouldn't really make a landfall over here. So I do expect this to follow my forecast cone. Jamaica could be at risk for seeing a hurricane, so I would be paying attention there. Around Monday is when you could see that landfall in Jamaica, and then continuing Tuesday night going through the Yucatan Channel, and then again up towards southeastern Louisiana is where I expect that landfall. The GFS model right now showing it area of broad low pressure going into the panhandle. This is my forecast cone. I'm going to have more updates on this tomorrow. I'm going to put out really my impact. So really, this was just showing you where it could make landfall and what I expect overall for this system. I do expect development, and I do expect landfall occurring around July 7th to the 8th. So I'd be paying attention around that time period along the northern Gulf, but also the Caribbean could get impacted by this system, will likely get impacted by this system. And again, the intensity is very uncertain. So at this point, it possibly could be a hurricane, and at this point, it could be a hurricane. Again, it's very uncertain given the intensity. Near the later part of the forecast, I think the intensity gets a little bit more clearer, and the track obviously gets clearer. So again, the track and intensity I think is pretty good. I think this could be a little bit higher than what I'm predicting right now, and I think it will be. But again, I'm trying to be conservative. I don't want to go extremely high because that's just not necessary right now. That's very far out. So again, this is the area that I'm going to be watching. I'm going to have my impact maps coming up later, and that's when I'll show where I think the worst impacts will be felt for Louisiana, Mississippi, and then parts of Alabama. So thank you all for watching. I will have more updates on this system. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe down below. You can also put on post notifications so you know when I put out an update, and I'll see you all in the next video.